season is about 400,000 yuan.
Yasin earned over 500,000 US dollars last year, and in Shanghai County,
So,
there's
well,
such
to me,
big
I would
cotton
have spent
farms
the
like
last 5
Yasin's.
minutes of the last
Data
hour,
shows
and
the
the first
cotton
20 of
output of
this
the
hour
whole
was
county
smoking
over
something to play music. What
280,000
happens
tons
instead
last
is
year,
the
about
pathology of these people.
92% was machine harvested.
That was
Yeah, as soon as I met
Huawei
you, you're gonna
reporting
fuck
in
around.
Xinjiang. You're listening to the Beijing Hour.
The
Coming up,
pathology was such that even though I
in
said
southern
an hour and
Indonesia.
a half ago, the first 20 minutes of this is garbage, I'm going to rerun it
Beijing
anyway.
Hour brings you
That's still the time they decide
and
they're going to
information
do all
from
every
both
single
China
hacking trick they
and
can
the rest of
do.
the world. A mix of news, sports, and entertainment. In-depth analysis of the day's big stories, as well as the most comprehensive business of the day. The Beijing Hour, your very own window to China and the rest of the world. 15 minutes past the hour. More than 40 people are dead and 9 others injured as flash floods and landslides hit East Nusa Tenggara province in southern Indonesia. Officials say the disasters buried dozens of houses, swept away several other houses, and destroyed a bridge. Hundreds of people are still missing in the area around one local village. Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araki says Iran will not hold any direct or indirect talks with representatives of the United States in the meeting of the 2015 nuclear agreement participants scheduled for Tuesday in Vienna. He says Iran will return to full compliance with the agreement after verifying the removal of sanctions. The senior diplomat says Iran will not accept any step-by-step plan to revive the agreement, but only the lifting of all the sanctions imposed by the administration of former U.S. President Donald Trump. The April 6th meeting in Vienna will be convened after a virtual reunion on Friday of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action participants. U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price confirmed on Friday that Washington representatives will attend the Vienna encounter and said the country remains open to direct talks with Iran.
Tapping at the door.
Greek authorities have proposed the reopening of retail stores starting from today with a time limit for shopping trips. The development ministry's proposal will be examined by a committee of epidemiologists. Officials say the proposed time limit for shopping will be 3 hours. However, it could be 2 hours if epidemiologists consider it as dangerous. Regarding the food catering sector, authorities say that the committee will examine all scenarios to relax the restrictions. Restaurants have been closed down since November due to the nationwide lockdown. With more on this, we spoke to Dr. George Sigopoulos, a political analyst based in Greece. How much of an impact will Greece's reopening proposal for retail businesses have in boosting the economy amid the pandemic?
Well, Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis has announced a partial reopening of the retail sector in cities like the capital Athens in his effort to give the opportunity to citizens to breathe as it is.
I don't know why you can choose those exact moments.
November 2020, and with a small break
You're an angry pedophile, self-righteous, so-all hacker.
they have remained closed. So tourists of the country can be perhaps next, but at the same time, the virus is not necessarily under control. There are cases which are rising, so the Prime Minister has taken a risk. There are both pros and cons as far as this decision is concerned.
Well, what impacts are vaccination efforts having on tourism in countries such as Greece?
Well, in Greece, the vaccination has started. The progress is not impressive, but it is better in comparison to the European average. But what matters is up to what extent that there will be agreement between the European Union and other countries of the world, because Greece policy is aligned with that of the European Union, and Greece does not alone decide. So if there is no mutual recognition.
So it's even to the point where the camera won't connect when I start the video. Everything broke it. All they can do is break it. They can't make it do what they want. They stop it from working. You're not skilled, bro. You're not skilled. You're not even observant. We're 5 minutes early with nothing to do to fill the time.
We can be optimistic about summer periods that we
It's 17 after, 22 after, 5 minutes.
Take on prospects, mutual recognition,
Detail-oriented promo. Is everything wrong?
Well, what is happening right now is that politics seem to have the upper hand
Detail-oriented OCD chomo that gets everything
This is not
wrong.
only
That's what you
related
are,
to
bro.
health
That's like the
certificates,
definition
but
of failure.
also
That's a
to
failure
the
of nature.
vaccines that
That's a
are
failure of
being
evolution.
delivered
It's a
in
complete waste
the
of
European
oxygen.
Union. And from
That's
the
what you
moment
are, dude.
geopolitics to have the upper hand, I'm
Still
not
2
very
minutes left with
optimistic
nothing.
about solutions
What
to
did you
be
stop us
reached
from doing?
anytime soon. This is obviously
So this joint I just
disappointing,
smoked
but from
later
the
instead of
moment
earlier,
this
and
is the
you made
decision
the show
of the
last
European
longer.
Commission,
More
Greece cannot
editions in the last
deviate
song.
from
Why do
that,
you keep
and
bothering
it is
us?
in the interest of the country to
Or
remain
bothering
committed to the
to attempt to
general
bother us.
European guidelines, in this
Better way to
case, as
phrase it.
far as the COVID-19 cases, the COVID-19 crisis is concerned.
That was Dr. George Zagopoulos, a political analyst based in
A whole
Greece,
bunch of
talking
bullshit
about
to
the
say about
reopening of
Greece.
the
Hey, how's the
country's retail
CISA?
sector.
See, methods are the
COVID-19
same.
pandemic
This
is being
lowest
blamed
common
for a
denominator
drop in
everywhere. They got
population
methods, we
in
got
Russia.
methods.
Julie Chapman reports.
€2,
The world's
which is about
largest
$5.
country is shrinking,
Or,
not by landmass, but by
no,
population.
it's not. It's,
Last year,
well,
President
whatever, say
Vladimir
it's
Putin warned
$3.
of a difficult demographic period. Then the pandemic
I'm in
struck.
Canada too. Hold on.
Helena is a single mother of 2. Hers is one of many Russian families struggling to make ends meet.
So you're having white
It has been harder
people's
because of a lack of
babies and abandoning
stability.
them at the
There is
orphanage. You should
government
be applying for
support.
welfare
I receive
benefits with those
benefits as a
babies.
single mother and low
Kidnapping
earner.
them and selling them yourself on the black
Despite those
market.
benefits,
Secondhand
Elena still
black
turns
market
to charity
babies.
handouts for extra help. The pandemic pushed more
Sec-
Russians below the
black
poverty
market
line.
secondhand.
The government issues benefits to poorer families to improve the
Johnny
fertility
Dollar
rate.
episode in the making.
But financial insecurity is only part of the demographic picture. When Moscow went into lockdown, there was a huge exodus of migrants. The Myanushka recruitment agency works with domestic staff. Half of its recruits come from former Soviet republics, and those who went home found it difficult to return to Russia's labor market.
They say
Out of
horrible
that
things
half, I
about
would
you.
say nearly 70% probably, a very large share got stuck. They eventually lost their jobs to those who stayed here amid the pandemic.
Many who eventually came back to Russia lost months of residency, which could set them back in their efforts to become citizens. Russia had one of the world's
where were they
highest
living
excess
before?
death rates last year, according to official data. And while a falling population is hardly unique to Russia, the government is trying hard to reverse the trend. The full effects of the pandemic are yet to trickle through,
You got a
with
horrible track
experts
record
predicting a
feeding large
bigger drop in
populations.
fertility in
Just maybe chill out on that.
2021.
That was Julia Chapman reporting. France is making efforts to ramp up its COVID-19 vaccination campaign amid surging infections and the need for jabs. Health workers in the city of Sarcelles, north of Paris, spent Easter Sunday vaccinating people against COVID-19. Local doctor Machida El Moutari says that with the doses they've been allocated, they're only inoculating high-risk groups and are unable to offer jabs to everyone.
Les gens qui sont éligibles sont toujours très contents de trouver un rendez-vous et de se faire vacciner.
People who qualify for vaccinations are very happy to get an appointment and receive one. The problem is with the people who do not qualify yet and are in a hurry, which I understand as they want to get back to a normal life.
The French military is expected to open 7 vaccination centers starting from Tuesday as part of an effort to ramp up vaccinations. The French government says 12 million doses have been put into people's arms since the vaccine rollout started. France has the world's highest reported COVID-19 deaths and the highest number of cases in Europe. Elderly people in the German city of Cologne have used Easter Sunday to get their COVID-19 vaccinations. 64-year-old Ilse Rexwinkel says although she was a bit worried about getting vaccinated, she's happy she got her shot.
Ja, ich fühle mich sehr gut. Ich freue mich total, dass
Yes, I feel very good. I'm totally happy that I got the vaccination appointment. It was like a little Easter present after all.
Germany is only giving the AstraZeneca vaccine to people aged 60 and older and those in a high-risk category for serious illness from COVID-19. The decision follows data from the country's medical regulator showing a rise in rare reported cases of an unusual form of blood clots in inoculated people. London police say
Only give it to the
over
old
100
people.
people were arrested after protests against the British government's new crime bill in central London on Saturday. The police say that 10 officers were left with minor injuries. The British capital was swarmed by thousands of demonstrators as a number of protests took place simultaneously. Many were protesting the British government's proposed police crime sentencing and courts bill. If passed, the legislation would give police in England and Wales more powers to impose conditions on non-violent protests, including those deemed too noisy, with those convicted liable to fine. The Africa CDC says the continent's acquired about 40 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine, and a quarter of them have been administered. Gurum Chala reports.
Africa CDC said 28 nations have received COVID-19 vaccines through the global COVAX mechanism, and about 20 countries have received theirs outside of COVAX. So far, 48 out of 54 African states have received vaccines.
39.1 million vaccine doses have been acquired by member states, with approximately 10.3 million doses.
Please keep editing pictures and dumping data on my router and all the rest of the weird shit you're doing, bro. Come on.
And beyond.
Africa CDC has also announced a new contract has been signed with Johnson & Johnson for the continent to get more than 400.
What was that 2 minutes ago?
On non-violent protests, including those deemed too noisy, with those convicted liable to fines or jail terms.
That's all he said.
The Africa CDC says the continent's acquired about 40 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine, and a quarter of them have been administered. Gurum Chala reports.
Africa CDC said 28 nations have received COVID-19 vaccines through the global COVAX mechanism, and about 20 countries have received theirs outside of COVAX. A total of 1,944 new cases were reported in Africa last week, but that is a decrease of 10% from the previous month.
Oh, dear.
Africa, just like the rest of the world, is banking on the COVID-19 vaccines coming in to soon see the end of the pandemic.
Damn it.
That was Gurum Chala reporting on the progress in Africa's COVID-19 vaccination. 26 past the hour now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency after a leak from a large pond of toxic wastewater in Tampa Bay. Over 300 families have been ordered to evacuate the Piney Point Reservoir site and its surrounding areas due to fears that the pond walls could collapse. Officials say around 600 million gallons of toxic wastewater could suddenly flood into the area near Tampa Bay if the pond wall should collapse. The water is reported to contain phosphorus and nitrogen from a phosphate mine that adjoins the retention pond. The leak was discovered earlier in the week, and engineers attempted to secure the breach but failed. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection said in a statement that while the water is acidic, it is not radioactive.
Maybe alkaline? Is it acidic?
European Council President Charles Michel has hailed Libya's interim government of national unity during a visit to the North African country.
The future of Libya is in your hands. You have a unique opportunity to build a united, sovereign, stable, and prosperous country. And the EU has been engaged also through the Berlin Conference to actively support the process of national reconciliation.
But Michel stressed that all foreign fighters and troops will have to leave the country to allow the rebuilding process to take place. He also mentioned that the EU has donated 50,000 COVID-19 vaccine doses to Libya through the UN-backed COVAX initiative. The European Council president arrived in Libya on Sunday, where he met with government officials, including Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeibah. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, China says its development conforms to common expectations and interests and should not be.
Third straight year? Well.
Beijing's capital international airports become a major staging post for shipping COVID-19 vaccines around the world. Iran says it'll not talk directly or indirectly with the U.S. during meetings on the 2015 nuclear deal held in Vienna on Tuesday. And Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
A million, a billion, or maybe a gazillion years ago, a giant split open an egg. Then came the lady giant who made people. And Mr. Carrot the Button, Mr. Handyman, the Baron on the Train. This is our new season of Chinese folktales, and we will explore the ancient mystical world together. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host, Shane Bigham, with you on this Monday morning. Still to come in business, China's central bank is the greenest among the G20 countries. In sports, La Liga's top team suffers a rare defeat. In culture and entertainment, a high-tech light show in Beijing. There are several ways to contact us. You can talk to us on Twitter at The Beijing Hour or visit the Beijing Hour page on Facebook for more news, videos, and analysis. Now today's headlines. The Chinese foreign minister says the country's development conforms to the common expectations and interests of all countries in the region and should not be blocked. Wang Yi was responding to questions about China-U.S. relations following meetings in Fujian province with the foreign ministers of Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, and South Korea. He says China is urging the United States to respect China's core interests in development. Wang says that in facing the challenges of globalization in the post-pandemic era, China and the U.S. should have more dialogue and cooperation in this region. He also says China welcomes dialogue on the basis of equality and mutual respect, adding that China does not accept that one country has the final say in world affairs. Economists say China's role in boosting world economic development is becoming more and more important. It comes after Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with a number of key members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, including Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines over the past week. Tan Ki-gip is the chairman of the Singapore National Committee with the Pacific Economic Cooperation Council.
It shows that China wants to have a meaningful economic relationship and a stable political relation with these four countries. Especially now, we are still coping in a difficult time with the COVID-19 and also with the instability in Myanmar under the ASEAN centrality. I think China has certain expectation how ASEAN can provide leadership in helping to resolve some of the issues among ASEAN nations.
And after the three-day visit to China made by the foreign ministers of the four ASEAN members, China also received South Korean Foreign Minister Chung Eui-yong on Friday and Saturday. Chen Hong is executive director of the Asia-Pacific Studies Center at East China Normal University. He says such kinds of intensive diplomatic interactions have shown that China is playing an increasingly important role as a stabilizing force in regional affairs.
I think that actually shows a kind of dynamism, of Chinese diplomacy, of course, for instance, Wang Yi also visited 6 countries, including Iran, Turkey, and also the defense minister, Wei Fenghe, also visited 4 countries in Europe. So we see such kind of intensity of Chinese diplomacy. That means actually China is providing a kind of, stabilizing force. In the local stability and also peace and also development, and also is actually an important force to provide a kind of booster of the economic development, especially against background of the COVID-19.
Officials say enhancing local regional collaboration is very important to help overcome COVID-19 in a more effective way, and also to promote the travel sector. Passenger trips topped over 51 million Saturday, the first day of the nation's 3-day tomb sweeping holiday. The reading jumped over 157% from the same period of last year. The China State Railway Group says Saturday saw approximately 14 million rail trips, setting a single-day record for this year. Figures also showed that airlines handled nearly 1.5 million passenger trips in China on Saturday, a jump of around 370% compared to the first day of the holiday last year. Tomb Sweeping Day, also known as Qingming Festival, was yesterday, Sunday the 4th. More than 40 people are dead and 9 others injured as flash floods and landslides hit East Nusa Tenggara province in southern Indonesia. Officials say the disasters buried dozens of houses, swept away several other houses, and destroyed a bridge. Hundreds of people are still missing in the area around one local village. UN top envoy in Somalia, James Swan, has condemned Saturday's foiled attacks against the Somali National Army bases
in which the army killed more than 115 militants. Swan says such attacks are aimed at undermining efforts to rebuild Somalia. Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for the simultaneous dawn attacks in which the group sustained heavy losses in the face of strong action by SNA forces. The incident comes amid sustained operations by the Somali army against Al-Shabaab extremists in southern regions where the militants hold swaths of rural areas, conducting ambushes and planting landmines. European Council President Charles Michel has hailed Libya's interim government of national unity during a visit to the North African country.
The future of Libya is in your hands. You have a unique opportunity to build a united, sovereign, stable, and prosperous country. And the EU has been engaged also through the Berlin Conference to actively support the process of national reconciliation.
Michel stressed that all foreign fighters and troops will have to leave the country to allow the rebuilding process to take place. He also mentioned that the EU's donated 50,000 COVID-19 vaccine doses to Libya through the UN-backed COVAX initiative. The European Council president arrived in Libya on Sunday, where he met with government officials, including Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeibah. London police say over 100 people were arrested after protests against the British government's new crime bill in central London on Saturday. Police say that 10 officers were left with minor injuries. The British capital was swarmed by thousands of demonstrators as a number of protests took place simultaneously. Many were protesting the British government's proposed police, crime, sentencing, and courts bill. If passed, the legislation would give police in England and Wales more powers to impose conditions on non-violent protests, including those deemed to be too noisy, with those convicted liable for fines or jail terms. This is Shane Bigham, live from the Chinese capital. Coming up in business, China's central bank is the greenest among the G20 countries.
You're listening to the Beijing Hour, 60 minutes of comprehensive news, your window on China and the world.
37 past the hour now. Turning to business, a report issued by London-based campaign group Positive Money says China's central bank has been rated the greenest among all peers in the G20 group. The report says thanks to the country's proactive actions, such as issuing low-interest loans to steer the market in a green direction, has achieved this status. The rankings based on the intent shown by the G20 central banks to combat climate change. More on this, we spoke to principal consultant Mike Baston of Business Development International. So we've mentioned the low-interest loans. What else do you think contributed to the top ranking for China's central bank?
Well, in addition to the tactical initiatives, like you said, the low-interest rate loans, if you go back to 2016, the Chinese financial regulators were the first in the world to launch national guidelines for establishing the green financial system. And 2018, the People's Bank of China offered a favorable interest rate on the required reserves for banks that perform well in an assessment of green financial activities. So I think it's a combination of those factors.
Well, the report says, it also says many central banks have been rated high on research and publicity for green finance, but they haven't followed up with practical activities. So what major challenges do they face?
I think that the fact that they haven't is probably due to the lack of support that the Chinese system has received, and the fact that there's a little coordination across government, little political will. I think those are the major challenges, and also perhaps the industry challenges as well. And really, they should look to China to see a way forward.
Well, how will China's promotion of green finance benefit the rest of the world?
Oh, undoubtedly so. I mean, the Chinese are leading the world in so many other areas, and this is another factor that really can only benefit the world economy, the EU, the US. They can look to this report and see that a coordinated action with tactical initiatives that really do mean business do work, and I think it can only benefit everyone.
That was Principal Consultant Mike Baston of Business Development International, talking about the greenest rating of China's central bank among G20 countries. Bitcoin ATMs are popping up across the United States. Karina Huber reports.
This New York City deli has something you might not expect to see in a corner store, a Bitcoin ATM. Its arrival is new and a bit of a curiosity for the store's owner.
Myself, I didn't even know how it worked. I like to know how it worked because it's getting very popular.
The ATMs are mainly used to buy and sell Bitcoin. They are not usually used to withdraw cash, though that is an option at some kiosks. They are attractive to store owners because they help increase foot traffic.
More people come into the store, people use the Bitcoin, they buy some stuff too from the store and bring more business. So it's very good for the business.
People don't want to be remembered.
Bitcoin ATMs have been popping up all across the United States in everything from delis to gas stations to smoke shops. By the end of March, there were more than 32,000 of them, many installed over the past year. A frenzy in trading pushed the price of Bitcoin to a record high of $61,000 in early March. Those who tend to transact via ATM instead of online include people without bank accounts and those who get paid in cash. For kiosk operators, there's an opportunity to make money. The dominant player in the U.S. Bitcoin kiosk market is LibertyX. Its CEO says the kiosks appeal to people who place a high value on privacy.
Most of the online exchanges today, you have to link your bank account, you have to enter all your information and do a wire or bank transfer, and that's just too much friction. So what we found is actually that a lot of these local delis, convenience stores, they actually have the best locations because they are centerpieces of their neighborhood.
The fees associated with Bitcoin ATMs are relatively high, which has attracted the attention of regulators who have raised concerns about their costs as well as their potential for illicit activities. But for now, they continue to spread across the United States.
And that was Karina Huber reporting in New York. According to a report by Beijing Business Today, the number of ATMs shrank by more than 80,000 last year in China with the rapid growth of mobile payments. Last year, the number of ATMs per 10,000 people nationwide dropped to 7.2. That's down from 7.8 in 2019. By contrast, the non-cash payment business has been growing steadily over the past year with an increase of over 7% year on year. China will host its 129th China Import and Export Fair, also known as the Canton Fair, online due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The fair will start on Thursday next week and last for 10 days. It's the third online session of this fair because of COVID. Around 25,000 Chinese business entities will participate in the fair, along with 300 overseas companies from nearly 30 countries and regions. They'll display more than 2.6 million goods. Starting in 1957, the Canton Fair is the country's largest and oldest trade fair. It's considered a key indicator of the well-being of China's trade and commerce. China's major internet companies have registered a 29% year-on-year increase in business revenues in the first couple of months of this year. According to the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, the companies raked in revenues of around $30 billion. The operating profit of major internet companies grew by nearly 20% year-on-year. The stats cover enterprises with annual revenues from internet services of above 5 million yuan in the previous year. Home appliance giant Skyworth has launched a high-end TV model that costs nearly 200,000 yuan, or roughly $31,000. It offers curved screens, artificial intelligence, and ultra-high definition. Skyworth is one of the first Chinese TV firms to mass-produce 8K TV models. The company also launched high-end monitors targeting the esports sector. It's announced plans to invest 1.5 billion yuan on innovations, including 5G, AI, and gaming features. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, La Liga's top team suffers a rare defeat.
The Beijing Hour. Hello, I'm Peter Dinklage from X-Men Days of Future Past. You are listening to the Beijing Hour.
Hi, I'm Kathy Freeman, and you're listening to the Beijing Hour.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lang Lang. Welcome to the Beijing Hour.
The Beijing Hour, your window to China and the world.
Time for sports. Here's Youngguan.
Thank you, Shane. In European football, La Liga leaders Atletico Madrid suffered a major blow in their title hopes as they were beaten by Sevilla 1-0. Atletico, chasing a first league title since 2014, is now only 3 points clear at the top with 9 games left. Third place, the Barcelona could move 1 point behind the Atletico if they beat 16th place Real Valladolid today. In the English Premier League, Tottenham missed the chance to move into the top 4 after being held to a 2-2 draw by Newcastle. Joe Willock scored the equaliser for Newcastle with 5 minutes remaining. Spurs manager Jose Mourinho says it's a disappointing game.
We had chances to kill the game, but we create instability to ourselves with the mistakes that we made defensively. You don't need me to analyze with you the goals that we concede. It's a bad result. I'm not being disrespectful with Newcastle, but I think that it's a match to win, so the result is not a good one.
The result left the Spurs level in 5th place with Liverpool and 2 points adrift of 4th place to Chelsea. Meantime, Manchester United came from behind to beat Brighton 2-1 and consolidated its 2nd place standing. In tennis, Hubert Hurkacz won his first Masters tournament of his career with a straight-set victory over Yannick Sinner in the final of the Miami Open. The 24-year-old, who upset Stefanos Tsitsipas and Andrei Rublev on his way to the final, became the lowest-ranked Masters champion since 2005.
Yeah, I mean, it feels incredible. I mean, it's tough for me to say anything now, but I mean, I'm so happy and so pumped. Like, it gives me extra motivation and extra belief in myself.
With Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, and Roger Federer all skipping the tournament, the stage was set for an unexpected champion. Hurkacz will climb from 37 in the world rankings to a career high of 16. In the women's draw, top seed Ashley Barty successfully defended her Miami Open title, winning 6-3 for love before Bianca Andreescu retired through injury.
Yeah, it's obviously a tournament that's always got great depth, and that's a challenge. Is that to win these titles, you have to beat the best, and you often have to beat 2, 3, 4 top 10 players. So it's been a great challenge this week. I've enjoyed every single match, and I've enjoyed the experience and the kind of the lessons that I've learned out of it as well.
Andreescu tripped near the baseline the 2nd set, hurting her right ankle in the process. After finishing the 4th game of the 2nd set, she broke down in tears and retired from the final. This year's French Open could be postponed as a result of the surge in new coronavirus cases. The French sports minister says they are in discussion with the French Tennis Federation to see if changes should be made to the schedule to coincide with the possible resumption of all sports and major events. France began a 3rd national lockdown, with Roland Garros set round from May the 23rd till June the 6th. The tournament was postponed by 4 months last year as a result of the pandemic. In MotoGP, Yamaha rider Fabio Quartararo won the Doha Grand Prix after making a stunning move in the late stages of the race. With 5 laps remaining, the Frenchman surpassed Johan Zarco and Jorge Martin to move from 3rd to 1st.
I think so well. I play so much with the map, with the tires, and I think it was 9 or 10 laps to the end. I said, okay, right now is the moment to push and show our potential, and we show that we have won the closest race, like you said, the top 15, and great to finish in the 1st position.
Spanish rookie Martin, who started on the pole, had led for most of the race before Quartararo passed him. Francis Zarco finished 2nd. It was the first time 2 French riders have been on the podium in the sports elite class since 1954. Zarco's 2nd place finish was enough to put him on top of the world rankings after 2 rounds. In the CBA, Kyle Falk had a game-high 27 points on his debut for Liaoning, helping his new team to a 112-83 victory.
Right off the top, how rusty? Just felt so bizarre. I was definitely rusty. You know, like, because there's a mix of wanting to kill, but at the same time having months of stuff that you want to talk about and get off your chest. So there's like half of me is like, should I just do my stuff that works? Or should I try out this bit about shaving my balls that I've been thinking about? You know, like I have so many, I don't know the options to choose from. So I did a mix of both, but it went over really well. The crowds were amazing.
Well, that's something I wanted to get into because we discussed it with our previous guest, Tommy Morrison, obviously comedy writing and the art form of actually writing jokes that you can't work out because nothing is open. So you don't know what's going to hit or miss. You don't know how your verbiage is. And Tommy expressed that as well. But I mean, he shot his last
knocked Poirier out in a featherweight contest, but the American secured a TKO win when the two met again at lightweight 3 months ago. The UFC has not confirmed the event yet, but McGregor says it will take place on July 10th. Despite the high profile of the encounter, it will not be for the lightweight title vacancy created by the retirement of Khabib Nurmagomedov, which will be filled by when Michael Chandler takes on Charles Oliveira on May 15th.
Thanks for the sports update. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, a high-tech light show in Beijing.
Want deep analysis of the biggest and unmissable news stories of the day? Subscribe to The Top Story on your favorite podcast app for a stronger understanding of all the top events that occur in China and around the world. The Top Story.
53 past the hour. Beijing International Light Festival started at UUN 10 Park, where high-tech installations provide an immersive experience. Lin Lin reports.
Health Canada recalls mask. I think I just posted it. Health Canada recalls masks containing graphene as it assesses risks to people. Oh, wow. This is Egypt puts on a show as it moves royal mummies to new home. That looks like a boat / tank sort of thing. Whatever makes the mummies, whatever makes the pharaohs pleased. Damn it. Wow, this is so incredibly interesting. When this takes 2-3 minutes at a time to get in there. This is the way to be surreptitious about things and not obvious. It took 3 whole minutes, though. There's something wrong with your internet connection. You're not a hacker. Yes, you're gonna try to time me. You're gonna try to clock me now. Every time I reach for something, you're gonna fucking have to fucking shit yourself up. Okay, it's times in a row, bro. You're not a hacker. You're just a chomo that found some scripts on the dark web. You're not a genius. You installed that shit. Keep it up. Come on. Dude, this is 4 fucking minutes straight. Come on. Do something with the connection you think you have to my machine, bro. Holy fuck. See people everywhere. It takes 60 seconds to get on from rebooting. This is 4 minutes, bro. What are you accomplishing? You spent the first 20 minutes of a show I didn't want to hear doing this. Now what? What are you gonna what time are you gonna waste? We had another 20 minutes to kill. Come on, bro. Do something. Holy shit. That's you are fucking stupid. Oh, this is the best way to not get fucking nailed for what you do. It's 5 minutes though. Like what I'm pointing out is how slow your internet connection is and how much of a heat score you are to yourself. 5 minutes waiting for. We got one letter on the screen here, and now there's two. You should pay your fucking phone bill, stupid. Holy shit. Five fucking minutes of this. Wow. Your skill. Every time I reach like this, you're going to do it. I know. That's 3 times 4. If I yell click, will you start the video for me? You are fucking dumb, bro. We do this every fucking day for 8 months, and you still won't fuck off and kill yourself. There's no response, no input, no nothing. We're going to go through this again. It took you 6 minutes to get it to this point. Just remember that. So for people that watch us enough to be stalkers, I find it, wow, pretty good, bro. For people that watch so much that you're fucking stalkers, I find it funny that you really don't. I only had 25 minutes out of that 60 I was trying to hear. You've spent about 30 out of the 60, but I don't see what's the point? Why would you do it during something important? Holy fuck. 7 fucking minutes to start a 4-minute song. Thanks, YouTube. You're geniuses too.
Yeah. Good, yeah. You need to relax. Surface, how we I
can see the screen, bro. I know you've got this weird pathology about like what over on me. I know you've got this weird pathology. So every time I start speaking and look at the screen, it's gonna freeze. See? What did I just say? What happened? If I look at the screen while I'm talking, it will freeze. I couldn't make this up. And then you've got this weird pathology that you're like sneaking something past me. I can see the screen. Whatever you do, make happen or don't. You're the most pathetic troll. There's no sense of self-preservation.
I just wake up and crush the day, in the rush to get paid to the devil he can wait. I got people on my serve on the way. I just wake up and crush the day, in the rush to get paid. Tell God to look away. Said money wanna see it, yeah. I just wake up and crush the day. I just wake up and crush the day, in the rush to get paid. Tell the devil he can wait. I got people on my serve on the way. I just wake up and crush the day, in the rush to get paid. Tell God to look away. This ain't what you wanna see. I just wake up and crush the day. Yeah, they say home is where the heart is, but back home I was living heartless. We all hard-headed, trying to prove whose head's the hardest. If thugging was an art, you could consider me an artiste. Most of my friends grew up not knowing who their father is. Nothing in their fridge, you can see their ribs. Yep, this is how we live. Coming from a place that had nothing left to give, nothing left to take. There's nothing on the plate, but I'm dreaming of a steak. Everything is stake. I gamble with my life, either 5 stars or behind bars. Lock the jaws, we holding on. Pump up, pass it on. Cause I feel pain too. What I've been through ain't what you've been through. But I feel you, yeah, it's true. Everything outside your window waiting to kill you. You think you know, but you ain't got a clue. Hear me, young Sherlock. Ain't no such thing as a sure shot. This is a cold block. And I just want what you got. It's real talk. Don't make a scene, just give it up. It's how it is. Where the fuck I'm from? Where the fuck I'm from? Where the fuck I'm from? Yeah. I just wake up and crush the day. In the rush to get paid. The devil can wait. I got people on
You can't figure out which app it is you're trying to dump on at any one time, right? You can't decide what it is I'm going to do next. It's nothing. I'm doing nothing. You're trying to outthink someone who's doing nothing, dog. That's how fucking stupid you are. Yes. Yeah. Up and down here, buddy. Up and down wants you to know he's here. Up and down the Chomo Clown just needs everybody to know for sure that he's here. He knows, stupid. Jesus Christ, bro, what the fuck is wrong with you? I've never seen somebody go through so much trouble to get tagged as a pedophile. Fuck off. You're not skilled at all. You're not a hacker, you're not skilled at all. And your pathology is really pathetic. You keep trying to outthink someone. You're trying to kill the audio. We know that's next. With the joy, the next thing that goes the audio. We know. So you keep trying to stop somebody who's doing nothing and outthink what they're going to not do next. That's how fucking stupid you are.
We just trying to get this money. You can put that on me and keep.
See how angry the internet gets with me when I say these things. The internet's disapproving of me now. That's not a hacker.
Mama checking the obituary, so she don't see me. She cry when they talk about it. Boy, I see me wake up some mornings and I don't want to be me.
Go down again. What? 8 seconds. Come on, buddy. Come on, Chomo, hurry up. Do you see how slow your internet connection is? Jesus Christ, bro. I can't see. You can see that I can't see. That's 2 minutes behind schedule, and it's the wrong alarm. Yeah, you're going to do this over and over because that's your game. Just like touching kids. Every possible chance you get, you're going to do that. We know your pathology. So every fucking time I lean forwards like this, it's going to freeze. This, your sex offender pathology. I don't remember what I was trying to show you. Every possible opportunity. So he's hitting the button 200 times in a row to make that happen once. Jesus Christ, bro. You're a fucking waste. Complete waste of oxygen. I'm going to count that as 2 straight minutes of nothing. The self-righteous, angry, anti-drug, anti-nigger, anti-commie, chink, frog, fuck shit, pedophile. Yep, you're getting angry. Yep, see, I called you up for everything.
I'm trying to put my seat back. Don't worry about that other shit. You'll never get back. Rise like a phoenix from the ashes, like they said I never do. The ones always talking never
kind of fake the interference with you. I could not fake that. Here, let me show you how it stops and starts. Quickly. Nope. So every time I say something you don't like. Come on! Look at this. Look how slowly your fucking hacks are, dog. You're not with it.
I see me wake up some mornings and I don't want to be me. Say the criminal or gangster is all I ever be. Like there's nothing positive in me.
He's got an 8,000 millisecond paint time. Yes, look at how bright that flashing light is. I couldn't help. I couldn't help but see that over and fucking over. He'll do that for 2 hours straight if I don't mention it. If I point out that he's a pedophile, he lives upstairs from me. He's 30 feet from me right now. He's gonna get angrier and angrier till his ISP throttles him or whatever happens.
Yeah, this ain't home is where the heart is, but back home I was living heartless. We all hard-headed.
I'm supposed to care that he doesn't like me. I don't give a fuck who he is.
Consider me an artiste. Most my friends grew up not knowing who their father is. Nothing in their fridge. You can see they ribs. Yep, this is how we live. Coming from a place that had nothing left to give, nothing left to take. There's nothing on the plate, but I'm dreaming of a steak. Everything is stake. I gamble with my life. Either 5 stars or behind bars. Love the jobs. We holding on. We'll pass it on, cause I became to what I've been doing. But
so you hear the sound hiccuping, and then, yeah, over and fucking over. He'll do this for hours.
Hear me, young Sherlock. Ain't no such thing as a search shot. This is a cold block, and I just want what you got.
That lyric right there was directed at what you're doing right now. Yep, I looked towards the mouse. That's the cue for the machine to freeze up. Jesus, bro, your pathology is showing.
Love the jaws, we holding on. Puff up, pass it on, cause I became to what I've been doing, what you've been through, what I feel you, yeah, it's true. Everything outside your window waiting to kill you. You think you know, but you ain't got a clue. Hear me, young Sherlock. Ain't no such thing as a search shot. This is a cold block.
What software you use right now. Oh, the mic indicator's working. Wow. Did you make that happen? If you do that enough times, does it start working again? Holy shit, bro. Another fail on your part. You made some work that was broken. Dumbass. Oh, disapproval. The internet disapproves. He's going to do this over and over for hours. So the question you would have is, how is he getting my IP address? Well, it's directly through YouTube. We deduced that much, and they don't give a fuck. So apparently they are a pro-chomo equal opportunity employer. So you can figure that out from the way they selectively enforce rules. There's a reason I don't try hard. There's a bunch of shit I'd be doing slightly differently, but this is the second. Hours and hours this guy will do this. It's the only thing he can do reliably to the system. And he's got to do it like 30 times in a fucking row to make it once. Come on, bro. Keep it moving. I can't in the mirror with you doing that, dumbass. You can't freeze both parts of the screen at the same time and have me play this game, dumbass. This is your game, right? I seem to have you trained. I pull out the mirror and you do it, because you've got this 8-second ping time, and despite your concept of being a psychiatric type of person, you don't know how to do it. That's what it sound like when the pistol sing. Mama checking the picture every devotes his resources to the one exploit. Yes, he can take resources away from the other. We'll be free of him for about 30 seconds. Jesus Christ.
I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid to the devil. He can wait. I got people on the serve on the way. I just
This is literally This is literally a child molester coming smashing on my door every day, screaming at me. This is literally a child molester coming smashing on my door every day, screaming at me about what is my problem with child molesters, and me telling him to fuck off every fucking day. And I'm supposed to care. It's an Android bot. I don't give a fuck. But my mind thinks you do this all day to kids' TV sets, don't you? Tablets and shit, don't you?
For what's gone, I know you'll be missing me. The reaper in the shadows with a sickle glistening. For as long as I can,
hey, that's my shout out, bastard.
city, regardless of the city I'm in. Getting paid for my rhymes, like proceeds of crime. When I flow, it's divine. Let me show you how to shine in this moment of time. I need to hold something to know that it's mine. If I slip and I fall, who gon' catch me? If I'ma fuck it all up, or you just gon' stand there and let me with friends like these. From these enemies, close my eyes, I don't wanna see. Say what's the world, so it was around with the rock. Wake the fuck up, yeah, I've been a G, but that ain't all the history. Me and Lady Luck, we got history, cause I shouldn't be here physically. Don't even front, if I was gone, I know you'll be missing me. The reaper in the shadows with the sickle glistening. For as long as I can, I'ma leave them there waiting on me. You know this rapper suck, I know y'all been waiting on me. Yeah, mama used to do it, now the boys say the same shit. Putting other families through it, these streets get hectic. They're the only thing you were fighting when you in the corner flexing, like you were Tate. Any man come against me, I'ma smite him. Heard somewhere in the Bible it says we built just like him. So we God-like, but we not like by God. All my thugs know there's no days off. How much did you want? How much would it cost to see it hurts less if you rip the band-aid off? My life moves too fast, tell me how to hit bars. All I know is gas, how he be the spark. But to set it off. Been a blast, I got hard times in the rear view. Something in the deck I cannot do. I got hard times in the rear view. Something in the deck I cannot do. Rear view. Something in the deck I cannot do. Had a hard life, me too.
Oh, dude, here we go. Every input's gonna take 2.5 fucking minutes. Here we go. I'll just set this down as I do every fucking time. I don't know what exactly it is you're attempting to accomplish. Oh, this is fun. Just waiting. Yeah, every time I reach for the keyboard, it's gonna freeze up. Right. That's if I give it about 8 seconds. Right. Jesus Christ. This is what you can accomplish. It's literally the original internet attack that your phone is being used to do. You're not even exactly in control of the malware. You don't like those words. The malware on your phone. And it's 4 buttons. What do we have? 2 minutes. Come on. Oh my fuck. He's switching from device to device too. Wow, if I could get the mouse to either move or not move, it's something related to what I'm doing. Yeah, keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. Yeah, keep it up. There we go with the edited eyes shut, mouth wide open. Okay, that's good. That's good. At some point, I'm going to press a button off sequence from when you're pressing buttons and it'll load. So I haven't given it any inputs yet. It's frozen up, what is that, 8 or 10 or 12 times in a row? Yeah, keep it up. Yep, up and down. Here's up and down. The angry, self-righteous, anti-drug pedophile clown. Okay. They see you. They know you're here. Can I press a button? Yeah, now it's going down again. So there's the big flash of light again. Wow. This is what he does to your kids' TV sets and tablets and shit, eh? So I'm not sure why he keeps taking it out on me. I'm not sure what that accomplishes exactly. Jesus, you're fucking retarded. I would tell you this guy's the type to start jerking off on the bus, but I already told you this guy's pretending to jerk off in front of people in front of the fucking building in broad daylight. That's way too close to fucking. Yep, same idiot. So is it 4 minutes to play 3 minutes of music? Wow, that's a good economy of scale, YouTube. Thanks for helping these idiots.
Don't be the we go with the jungiana. 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 Make a one minute because you think you want it, Anna. You're coming at the place, not that the function. I
was trying to play this on April 1st. No lie, we did 24 fucking videos in a row because this idiot won't fuck off. And the one thing I couldn't bring you was snow on April 1st. Even though the weather report said.
I
mean, I could have, but I didn't really care. Like, it wasn't like a big thing.
It's the champion sound. Me as the champion now. Me used to stand up on the side, man, fun the corner. Me used to preach with me brethren, fun the over. And the clubs, them I think up in a different area. Them not know that this was an entertainer. Used to drink up my liquor mixed with water. Me say, shut up your mouth, I hear me, mother. She used to ball out and me say, ball out, Allah. And never know the time some of the wicked in me back. If my back, them I dig and I give me even down. It's the place I'm in, but them I call it Canada. Second will never find the sea and Selma. It's that I made the name of a damn shop. It's the color for two for Mr. Jamaica. Now people never get that in that them of wonder. If I miss a black man, but I miss a white man. Listen up your dance and they say Imperial. It's the champion sound.
So whatever's happening on this idiot's end, his internet connection gets throttled or something. It's the easiest thing for an ISP to detect. It's just denial of service attack. What's unusual is that it just keeps happening and happening and happening and happening and happening. What idiot does that? But it's built into every fucking computer, so. You're not smart for installing that shit on every fucking phone. That's the same shit.
Yeah. This is good again. Yeah. You need to relax. Shut up, bitch. I don't need no feedback. I'm trying to put my seat back. Don't worry about that other shit. You'll never get it back. Rise like a phoenix from the ashes. It's like they said I never do. The ones always talking never got a clue. Who the fuck am I now? Who the fuck is you? Right up on my thugs. We just trying to get this money. You can put that on me. We keep the artillery. If they cross me, then it's R.I.P. It's for my real thugs. The ones that squeeze the thorn and bleed just to smell the rosebud. In the search of finer things, maybe God will notice me if I play. That's what it sound like when the pistol sing. Mama checking the obituary, so she don't see me. She cry when they talk about the boy on TV. Wake up some mornings and I don't want a baby. They say the criminal or gangster is all they ever be. Like there's nothing positive in me. I am positive you not get rid of me, at least not that easily. I just wake up and crush the day. In the rush to get paid to the devil look away. I got people I'ma serve on the way. I just wake up and crush the day. In the rush to get paid, tell God to look away. He said, money wanna see it, yeah. I just wake up and crush the day.
So I don't know what they think they accomplished doing all that. It took me the exact same amount of time to burn that split wood anyway. Except I would have burned it an hour ago. Right. Okay, almost forgot. These idiots are helping my weed and
said hours. Cowherd points to a cup made apricot flowers and something like this. Yeah. Okay, so this one should be seen as the poem that carries a very sad.
So I've got the most horrible scar tissue and cartilage.
Why can't it be beautiful, right? You agree, right?
Right, exactly.
I'm growing steel, wool, and fiber optic cable.
Aye.
which reveals the fact that our real problem with most queues isn't the time we spend waiting. It's the idle boredom. If you're relentlessly entertained, you'll happily spend most of a vacation day standing in line. Let's now take leave of our costumed princesses sweating into their polyester corsets and meet another sort of protagonist, Trader Joe. Trader Joe's is a grocery chain in the U.S. I ride hard for their crunchy lentil curls. They're known for their store brand organics and the epic lines. Like, the entire floor plan is sometimes occupied by a single line snaking through every aisle. There is an employee paid to hold a sign on an 8-foot pole that reads, "End of the line." Experts call this a serpentine line. It's long, single file, and folds back on itself. And it's actually preferable to the parallel lines you see at most grocery stores for 2 reasons.
No, it's not.
First, a serpentine line ensures first come, first served. Whereas with parallel lines, you're plagued by that anxiety.
You want to go ahead of me instead of being at one individual thing, affect the entire fucking line.
Second, a serpentine line is good at distributing any delays. So if a register goes down, traffic is simply rerouted to the other stations, as opposed to leaving a single line of stalled out customers boiling with enough grocery rage to air fry their lentil curls in their own cupped hands. Before doing this podcast, I hated serpentine lines. Entering Trader Joe's, I thought, are you kidding me? But now, knowing what I do about queuing theory, I'm like, okay, these guys know what's up. Where's the pole guy with the end of the line thing? Now, let's take this shopping cart underwater. Okay, easy, careful, please. There's eggs in there. Some of them are green with red spots. Others are orange.
Beautiful Joan Kelly Walker and our guest, Marcus Black, chatting about self-love and why it's so important before dating. Let's get back into it. All right, before the break, we just, you started unpacking about self-love, but let's continue that conversation. When it comes to self-love, you know, many of us are just getting started and we don't really know how to learn to love ourselves. What are some of the ways that we can start practicing this, Marcus?
Yeah, and I'm so glad that we get to talk about such a needed topic, right? So I want to dive right into this. And the way I'll do it, and the way I unpack it in my book, is a story that you all have heard. It's a cliche, right?
To very limited breeding positions. So in their group, breeding is monopolized by just...
Oh, it's going from queuing theory to breeding.
Diversity and natural services. We all know that human welfare and the status of nature's health are closely related. We all know that what is at stake is not only preserving our natural environment, but also the future of the human species. We all know this, and we have known this for a long time.
Words to describe what I just
Political decisions have been made on several occasions in the past.
Is Noah working? No.
Je me dis, il va falloir que là aussi, on évoque la bureaucratie des fonctionnaires, etc. Mais je pense que l'armée aussi aura besoin, si elle veut tenir les objectifs qu'elle affiche, de faire preuve d'un peu plus, qu'elle soit un peu plus laisse qu'elle ne l'était par exemple à Mulhouse. Parce que 8 jours pour installer un hôpital de campagne, ça me paraissait particulièrement long en situation d'urgence.
C'était 3 jours et surtout en situation de paix, Christophe Guescard.
C'est aussi ce qu'on a vu à l'étranger, des États-Unis, lorsqu'on regarde la campagne de vaccination, l'armée est vraiment impliquée depuis le début. On le sent, ces gros vaccinodromes. Il y a aussi un changement totalement de stratégie. On l'a vu ces dernières semaines. Au début, il n'y avait pas de grands vaccinodromes. Désormais, l'armée est appelée en renfort, ce qui était l'opération Résilience, effectivement, en mars de l'année dernière. Et en fait, ils n'ont pas vraiment le choix. La vraie problématique, c'est toujours les vaccins. Parce qu'il faut avoir les personnes qui vont vacciner. Mais pour l'instant, on a 9 millions de personnes.
On va les avoir, a priori.
améliorer les vaccins.
Mais on sent bien qu'il y a cette volonté, en tout cas, d'avoir les vaccins. Encore faut-il les avoir, mais quand on les aura, effectivement, ce qui est important pour l'exécutif, c'est d'avoir les bras pour vacciner. Et c'est pas pour rien qu'on a appelé les vétérinaires, on a appelé toute personne en France qui est capable de vacciner pour le faire, parce qu'on sait qu'il...
तो ये तालीम जब नबी आता है तो उसी वक्त वो अप्लाई के लिए करता है जब वो अभी स्ट्रॉन्ग हो जाता है उस वक्त भी तालीम जो है अप्लाई होगी जो कि लोगों का नजरिया है कि कोई बंदा नबी की वो बेइज्जती करे उसको
ठीक है बहुत शुक्रिया हसन साहब, आपका सवाल नोट कर लिया है। हमारे अगले मेहमान अमीन साहब हैं। अमीन साहब की कॉल लेते हैं। अमीन साहब अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
So my affirmation is, I am strong, I am intelligent, and capable of accomplishing great things. And I look myself in the mirror and I say that every single day.
Going to sell 5,000 copies.
What do you need to tell yourself?
And that will prove
what
that your
message of love do you need to look at? And I'm telling you, it's going to feel ridiculous. You're going to feel ridiculous looking at yourself saying this. But what you don't realize is you're planting seeds into your subconscious mind that even if you don't believe that message in your heart, it's going to change the way you feel and how you move. And over time,
we talk more about the subconscious type shit they put in
you are because you start to build this new practice of self-love and self-appreciation.
You're not listening. I removed the horrible hair. I am left with a skin tag that I didn't realize was
brain. Do you find that that's effective?
You don't know horrible. The only other option
the arch rivals of my home state's team, the Minnesota Vikings.
The hair somehow.
Demand for Packers tickets is insane.
You can call them. The lovely woman who was on the phone with me, I could only assume her name was like Doris. I asked her then how many people are in the line total. She said it's 139,000. And I said, okay, so that's what, 30, 40 years? And the first thing she did was laugh. She said probably longer than that. So I don't know. I mean, like at this point, for real, like it's not so much for me. Like if this happens, you know, I'll be in my 70s, my 80s. It's sort of like throwing a wish in a well. It feels a little bit or something. You are more or less at this point thinking as much about your children and the next generation as you are yourself.
Do you have kids?
No, I don't.
Get on that.
If there's anything, you know, high on my list of why to procreate and have kids, it's like someone's got to keep my place in line.
It is impossible to overstate the lengths that people will go to for these tickets. The team doesn't allow people to sell them, and they can only be willed to a spouse or blood relative, which prompted a dude on Craigslist to offer to marry and divorce a ticket holder, or to be adopted by one to get the transfer done.
There was someone one point in time who offered like money to legally change his name so that he could take someone's tickets. There have been things like that I've heard about. You know, I'm not a fan of that. I feel like it's not very Green Bay. It's not very like Packers spirit, you know. We're all in this together, and that attitude is one of like looking out.
And that's helped me tremendously. It's hard to
We're going to try something new today. We're going to have like 24 hours of music.
No, it's not anymore.
No audio, no
So I want to speak to this, Lauren. Thank you for bringing up that point. Because that is
24, I guess it's 12. 12 hours of this, nothing. Just nothing. No, because you'll learn more from this than the pukey shit I'm fucking finding right now.
There's a little morbidity to standing in this line because, you know, there's only two ways out of it.
to the Packers.
We'll check back with Brian every decade or so to see how he's faring. So, stay tuned. We all spend a decent share of our lives
I'm
in
gonna
line.
dive like 9 years into this, and then
At the emergency room, for the last train home, back for more tacos.
They'll do 7 or 8 of those.
We hold
every 10
positions
years.
in a web of invisible lines, too, waiting for an unknown clerk to approve a loan, or run a background check, or grant a marriage license. Lines, with all their potential for foul play and righteous violence, are like tiny single-file republics, self-governed temporary sovereignties, where we are asked to regard one another
You need to come to Canada,
Bring
because
a book,
apparently it's the
but
only place in
also
the world people know how
bring
to
your
stand
best
in lines. Yeah, I get at the end, you're at the beginning.
Next time on Deeply
So
Human, we're
they all sort of go
investigating
through an order
symmetry and
that is very simple.
why are we so attracted to symmetrical faces? Deeply Human is hosted by Dessa, classic third-person maneuver, and is a co-production of the BBC World Service and American Public Media with iHeartMedia.
In the heart of letting another human being make you feel less than and being heartbroken and crying yourself to sleep at night, yeah, we go in there, we're going to keep it real. Or you can choose the difficulty of cutting out those toxic relationships that aren't serving you, that
the
are
same
tearing
type of
you
man
down,
these women are.
so that you have a life of addition by subtraction. So you add to your life by cutting out that which you do not need.
Shut up. Addition by subtraction.
That
10,000
a lot of women have an issue with, and it's comparing ourselves to others. And Joan, I never sense this energy from you. Like, I think that you've nailed this. Like, you do not compare your, like, I really sense that you never compare yourself to others. Like,
Reset.
Il est 4h30, le flash. Morgane Clarenfait, le procureur de Paris, ouvre une enquête après un reportage de la chaîne M6 sur des dîners clandestins de luxe à Paris en pleine pandémie. Le propriétaire des lieux assurait que des ministres y avaient participé sans donner de nom avant de rétro-pédaler. Il s'agissait d'un trait d'humour, assure Pierre-Jean Chalençon à la tête du Palais Vivienne. Si des membres du gouvernement figurent effectivement parmi les convives, ce serait une déflagration politique, juge Alexis Corbière.
That's one of the wonderful things about getting older and having life experiences and having, been young and intimidated. But I've always put myself in situations where I'm a little bit, it challenges me. So I've learned from a very young age that I need to look around and see, I've learned more by keeping my mouth shut and by watching and observing than by, trying to compare myself and get in there.
This was the Packers tickets, right?
To destabilize the kingdom, Prince Hamza denies the accusation. The centre-right party of Prime Minister Boyko Borisov, GERB, has emerged as the leader in Bulgaria's parliamentary election, but with only 25% of the vote, according to exit polls. A strong showing by anti-corruption parties opposed to Mr. Borisov may prevent him from forming another government. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, has pledged EU support for the territorial integrity of Ukraine. Mr. Borrell expressed severe concern about Russian military activity near Ukraine's borders. Moscow insists its troop movements are no threat. China has reported 15 new cases of COVID-19 in the western province of Yunnan, the country's biggest daily increase in more than 2 months. All the new cases were found in the city of Rulay, a transit point on the border with Myanmar. Portugal is easing its lockdown restrictions 2 months after the country faced one of the world's worst outbreaks of COVID, which pushed its health system to the brink of collapse. New infections are at their lowest level since August. Community leaders of Sri Lanka's Tamil minority have called for a day of national mourning for a prominent Catholic bishop known for speaking out against human rights abuses by both sides during the now-ended civil war. Bishop Rayapu Joseph is to be buried today. BBC News.
I'm sorry I've lost my voice, but I just want you to know that things are really tough here, and I don't have any way to provide for my kiddos,
and things are hard. And I need your support now more than I needed ever right now.
Sam and her kids may have escaped ISIS, but they're still in Syria. They're being held in a camp with thousands of women and children who are in the so-called caliphate.
We just need to get out of here. We need to get out of here. We need to get out of here quick.
I'm in England preparing for my best mate's wedding. And that's when I get the call telling me the US government wants to arrest Sam for lying to an FBI agent. Days later, on the 24th of July 2018, a military transport plane lands in Indiana. After more than 2.5 years with ISIS, more than 8 months in Kurdish detention, suddenly, Sam, Matthew, and his younger siblings are back in America, just like that. The children are taken into the care of Child Protective Services. Sam is arrested and driven to jail. I'm Josh Baker. I'm from BBC Panorama and Frontline PBS. This is I'm Not a Monster.
I'm a little confused with
Episode 7 on American soil.
Just sent her a message saying, "Hey, it's Josh. I'm here, looking forward to talking to you."
All he'd say was, "I'll let you go this."
John, I can hear you. I'm just trying to see if I can see you. Where are you?
Sam appears on my screen. She's wearing a red jumpsuit, standard issue at Porter County Jail.
How are you?
Oh, I'm okay considering. Constantly worried about my kiddos, but that I guess is to be expected.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's
not too bad here. Just happy to be on American soil.
If I'd been asked to come up with all the possible crimes that Sam could have wound up in jail for, lying to an FBI agent wouldn't have made the list. It seems Sam had a relationship with the FBI that had nothing to do with her time in Syria, but centered around her husband Musa's family's business in America.
The address was a direct response to the emerging needs of today's online worldwide shoppers. With Via Address,
it's a shipping company known as Via Address or Viabox that sends packages all over the world.
Simply click on the Join Now button to complete the required fields, completely hassle-free.
The FBI was a frequent visitor, and there was a local police detective that would come in.
Sam's friend Andrea worked in the warehouse.
I recall Homeland Security at one point came in. It was kind of like a scene out of a movie, to be honest. There was a whole bunch of people pulling up in dark sedans, getting out in black suits, and they just came barging into the warehouse and asking for management.
Another good friend of Sam's, Cassie, worked there too.
Oh, we've had government agents coming in since I started in 2011.
What agencies?
We had Homeland Security come in. We had FBI come in. We've had local detectives come in.
I spoke to one local police officer involved, who asked not to be identified. The officer told me that dealing with the business consumed a lot of their time, as customers regularly tried to ship items bought on stolen credit cards.
What about the FBI? What would they do when they came to the warehouse?
Well, Sam was working with the FBI as an informant.
What do you mean?
She would meet up with a couple FBI agents every few months, maybe, about things that are being shipped out of the warehouse.
So, somebody told me that you were an FBI informant while you were with Firebox. Is that true?
It's true.
So you were an FBI informant? And what were you doing?
I'm not sure how much I can go into that, but I'll give you the basics. Basically, the FBI would contact me with a name and a country, and so I would give them information on what they were shipping back and forth. I would give them serial numbers on cell phones, take pictures of things for them to see it. Anything that they wanted, anything.
So they were monitoring what, electronic devices that you guys were shipping?
Not only that, but anything that would seem suspicious, that would have anything to do with military terrorism, anything like this.
And what would they ask you to do?
I had to put together these reports with their name, IP addresses from where they were making these payments, how much were the payments.
Where did they meet you?
I really don't know how much I can say.
So, the woman who travelled halfway across the world to Syria and lived in the Islamic State group's caliphate says that before she left the US, she was helping the FBI tackle terrorism for more than 2 years. When I asked the FBI about this, it won't comment. But in court documents, the prosecution says Sam's role had nothing to do with terrorism. They do confirm, though, that she was a confidential human source, an informant. The papers reveal that Sam spoke to the FBI just days before she and her family left the US in March 2015. And that's when she's accused of telling the lie that led to her being put in jail. The full story about what she was doing doesn't appear in the court documents, though, because it's classified. I want to piece together what else was going on in Sam's life before she left. And I'm still trying to figure out how much of what she told me in Syria is true. There's a friend of Sam's in Indiana who I hope will talk to me.
Hi there. I wonder if you can help me. My name is Josh. I'm looking for somebody called Jenny. Hello. This is going to be very, very strange for you. So I'm from the BBC and PBS Frontline.
Jenny also worked with Sam at the shipping company. They became friends and ended up spending a lot of time together. She reminds me of Sam a little. Confident, engaging.
So basically, in 2017, I found out that Sam and the kids were in Syria. And
I give Jenny a condensed version of my search for Sam and everything that's happened.
All I had known in the beginning was that, I mean, they were taking trips. And then I just remember they were selling the cars. I drove by the house one day, the house was up for sale. I didn't have a clue. And the FBI came to my house, asking me questions.
What is that? A long time.
Yeah. This was like before I had known anything. And I was never meaning to like out anything or I don't know.
Jenny says she told the FBI about a trip she and another friend took with Sam.
Because she had gotten me like these facial packages in Chicago, and it was like a 4-part thing, and it was like the second time we had went.
Oh, so you guys were going over for like spa treatments?
Yeah, and we stopped at this little coffee shop, and she had confided in us that Musa was wanting to go, I think she said like join the Holy War or something like that.
So what you're saying is that you and Sam went to Chicago for like a spa day, spa treatment, and she confided in you that Musa wanted to join ISIS.
Right.
Did she seem like she was up for that, or was she against it?
She was just like, he's so crazy, like...
He wants to do this.
Yeah. And here's this blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl with tattoos on her neck, like, going to Syria. Like, come on. She had to have known, like, I don't know. I'm so torn with it. I'm just so torn with it. I don't know.
Weeks after Sam is brought back to America, the US government brings new charges against her. Now, Sam is accused of providing material support for terrorism, helping to transport cash and gold and tactical gear to ISIS. They also say she was part of a conspiracy to help her husband and brother-in-law join the group.
Did you provide material support for terrorism?
No, I don't believe I did.
Did you provide funding for terrorism?
Did you provide tactical gear?
No, absolutely not.
Did you support Musa and Abdul Hadi to join ISIS?
I didn't support them to join them, no. Did I support my husband on his stupid ventures? Yes. But had I known what he was doing, I would not have supported it.
What did you support Musa in doing?
Trying to get his life cleaned up, trying to get closer with his parents, trying to make our relationship better. And going to Morocco.
Morocco. Since the first time we spoke in Syria, Sam has insisted that she thought she was going to Morocco, not to what ISIS called its caliphate. The only reason she ended up anywhere near Syria, she says, was because Musa had bought cheap flights that included a layover in Turkey, which borders Syria. I want to know what she told Matthew's father, Juan. Did you ever hear about Sam starting a new life in Morocco?
No. The only trip that I'm aware that was ever out of the country was to Paris to visit Musa's dying mother.
And how do you know about that?
That's what Sam told me, that she was taking Matthew to go do.
So what did she tell her friends?
She said that they were going on a family vacation to visit the parents and get Musa's paperwork all settled.
Cassie says Sam had told her about Morocco, but not that the family were moving there, just that Musa's US visa had expired, so they needed to travel there to sort it out. And when I talked to Andrea, someone who described Sam as an amazing, dear, incredible friend, I get another story altogether.
She didn't say anything to me about going to Morocco, or that they had plans to go to Morocco.
Did she ever tell you she was going to leave America?
She mentioned that her and Musa and the kids were going to Hong Kong for what she said was a business opportunity.
I find out there wasn't just one trip to Hong Kong. There were 3, all in the months before Sam ended up in Syria. And she took thousands and thousands of dollars in cash and gold and stored it in safety deposit boxes there.
As I understand it, you were basically thinking that you were emigrating to Morocco. The problem I've got is that there are a few people who, and maybe they're wrong, or maybe you haven't been completely honest with them. You know, one person thought you were going to Hong Kong, another person thought you were just going to Morocco for a month. Somebody else thought you were going to France. And I was just wondering why there might be these inconsistencies in your story.
The inconsistencies come from myself not really knowing. As far as like a time frame, the funny thing is I know each one of these inconsistencies, where they're coming from, and I can give you a reason for each one, but I don't think I can talk about it.
Did you ever go to France?
France?
Yeah.
No, I did not go to France. The reason this France issue is coming from my son's father.
But you didn't then go to France?
No, I didn't go to France.
When did you first become aware that either Musa or Abdul Hadi might want to join ISIS?
I can't answer that.
So my next question is, why did you travel to Hong Kong?
Because suppose, I don't even know if I can answer this, Josh, because it's a significant part of the case that I'm working on right now. It was supposed to be a tax evasion. My husband said he had done some research, and he was convinced that if we took assets and cash into Morocco from America, that it would be confiscated.
Okay. Did it not seem odd to you, though?
The simple fact is that he was very paranoid, and if you look at anything that he ever did in his past, you would always find strange irregularities that he would go through because of his paranoia. So this is something I was completely accustomed to. It was something I tried to talk him out of, but he was insistent.
And what exactly was that cash for?
For buying a house in Morocco.
Eventually, I get hold of court documents, and I can see that the FBI says Sam told one of their agents she was travelling to Morocco for 3 months for knee surgery. It was going to be performed by her father-in-law. But Musa's dad is not a doctor. He's actually an engineer. And Sam didn't go to Morocco. This is what got Sam arrested in the first place, for lying to an FBI agent.
Did you make a decision to go to ISIS though, Sam?
I can't really answer that because it has to do with the case. I made the decision to
The visitation has ended. I'm trying. No, it won't let me do it.
Great. Nothing in Sam's story is simple. She's misled or lied to the FBI, to Matthew's father, even her best friends. So maybe she's been lying to me about what happened to her in Syria. Did she really try to escape? Was she really imprisoned and tortured? Or could this all be part of another story designed to disguise the fact that Sam was an ISIS supporter all along? The only way to find out is to go back to Syria.
So what does he know about Samantha? Can you ask him to tell me what he's told you? Can I ask, was Samantha ISIS? Did she want to be here with ISIS?
You can download the full series of I'm Not a Monster, including extended episodes, right now on the free BBC Sounds app, or wherever you get your podcasts. It was written by me, Josh Baker, and Joe Kent. We produced it together with Max Green. Lucy Sullivan is the production assistant. Sam Slater, the composer. It was mixed by Tom Brignall, and the editor is Emma Rippon.
Hello and welcome to More or Less on the BBC World Service, with a programme that explores the numbers in the news and in the never. I'm Tim Harford.
What numbers could you possibly be looking at?
On More or Less, we firmly believe that maths can help us understand everything. But until now, we've never applied our statistical skills to the world of Minecraft. And that's probably a bit of an omission. The computer gaming industry is worth over 100
about self-love and why it's so important before you get back out there, and why it's so important in relationships. Let's get back at it.
So before the break, we were talking about overcoming adversity and self-love. And, you know, part of self-love also means learning how to wake up.
Tell me why it hurts when we still love each other.
Which had their origins in his early life as the son of a Chinese peasant, as well as his Spartan lifestyle as a revolutionary. Let me begin by relating some stories about Mao in connection with the way he dressed, since the clothes one wears show most readily whether a person is sophisticated or unsophisticated in taste. Mao never wore shoes when they were new. He would ask the guards or bodyguards to wear them in first, and would take them back and wear them himself when they were no longer new. During the war, on more than one occasion, Mao gave his shoes to the men who needed them. He did that so as to set a good example to the other cadres, in order that they should take good care of every man in our ranks. Giving new shoes to the men to wear first was, however, a matter of a different nature. It was a matter of personal preference. Some people like their clothes, hats, and shoes new, believing that they look good in them. Mao was the opposite. Like the peasants, he was a practical man. To him, the best clothes were the ones in which he felt the most comfortable. You young people look good in new clothes, but I'm an old man and find old things more comfortable, Mao would say when he gave new shoes to the men or took them back, adding, to each according to his preference. Mao's habits and his attitude to the way he dressed originated partly in the early years of his life in the countryside, and partly as a consequence of the shortages he endured during the years of war. These habits and attitudes enabled him to adapt easily to the social conditions which prevailed in China, which were determined by a predominantly rural economy and the environment of war. Mao was quite familiar with farming, as was clear from the numerous inspection tours he made in the countryside. When we looked at the paddy fields together at Xinli village in Tianjin in 1958, a leading comrade of the Central Committee and the local officials told him that 1 mu of land could yield as much as 100,000 jin of rice. Mao did not believe them, dismissing what they said as mere bragging. To prove that it was indeed possible, they had resorted to using artificial lighting, ventilating the fields with blowers, and even laying children on top of the crops to prove that they were strong enough to bear their weight. But Mao refused to be taken in. He said, "I don't believe you can grow so much. The higher you go, the harder you fall." He remarked to that leading comrade of the Central Committee, "You've never done any farming. All you do is talk big. I've been a peasant myself, and I know 100,000 jin is impossible. You can't even heap that much rice in that amount of land. So don't take me for a fool." Would anyone wear fine, crisp clothes when his job often took him to the countryside, where he would sit in the fields, work the plows, cut the crops, or join the peasants in collecting manure and talk with them?
Right away, so
History has created an image of Mao wearing clothes covered with patches. In fact, the patches on Mao's clothing were mostly on his underwear and coarse cotton socks, which were hidden from view. They came in all shapes and sizes, and odd bits of cloth in blue, yellow, or grey that came to hand would do. When these were not available, old bandages would be substituted. However, Mao paid a lot of attention to patches on his undergarments. He insisted that they must be the same color, or as close as possible to the color of the clothes they were to mend, and must look presentable. "Find a piece of cloth," he would say, "that matches the clothes. What you wear on the outside is for people to look at. It's not polite to have patches on your clothes that look outrageous." Not long after moving to Beijing, Mao met with the leaders of the democratic parties, representatives of various circles, and well-known figures. One of them was Zhang Lan, a founder of the China Democratic League and vice chairman of the Central People's Government of China. Before the meeting, Mao said to me, "Mr. Zhang Lan's done a great deal for the liberation of the Chinese people and is highly respected by democratic personages. I want to meet this senior gentleman in better clothes as a mark of respect for him." I rummaged through all Mao's clothes, but I couldn't find a single item that was neither badly worn nor patched.
And that was part 11 of Mao Zedong, Men, Not God, written by Chuan Yanchi, narrated by Ian Reid, and brought to you on China Radio International. Join us next time in A Light on Literature, when Li Yinqiao describes Mao's rustic habits. And if you missed anything, be sure to check out our website at www.crienglish.com and click on the link for A Light on Literature.
'inthecity.ca. Joan, where can people get a hold of you?
I'm at Joan Kelly Walker Official on Instagram or my website, joankellywalker.com.
And
to getting lucky with your first Minecraft trade. Lucky, but not crazy lucky. To be as lucky as Dream was the equivalent of tossing 37 heads in a row. It is extraordinarily lucky. To raise mathematical eyebrows still further, he was fortunate not only with his Ender Pearl trades, but also with another bizarrely named Minecraft resource, Blaze Rods. Matt Parker has calculated the odds.
So what I thought I would do is just compare it to how many people conceivably could be playing Minecraft, or indeed doing anything. So I calculated
I call it the 10 billion human second century, which is if you've got 10 billion humans doing something once a second, just around the clock, for a century non-stop. And if you put all those numbers together, you get 3 times 10 to the 19. So a 3 with 19 zeros, if you round it, right? And so that's the maximum number of times humans can do anything. If you put all the probabilities together of what happened in dream speed runs, you'd expect it to happen once in 2 times 10 to the 22. And so that's roughly 1,000 times bigger than if every single human was doing nothing but playing Minecraft once a second for a century. And so it's just beyond anything that could possibly happen as done by humans if it was an unaltered version of the game.
So I think we can put Matt Parker down as a skeptic. And if you want further details, you can find a video on Matt's Stand Up Maths YouTube channel. That is all we have time for this week. If you want to get in touch with
I probably think any agent can sell their home. That may be true in this market, but what is also true is when you're doing that, you're probably going to lose tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars on that sale. Frank has the buyers lined up. They're local, they're national, they're international. They're always waiting for one of Frank's properties to go onto the market because they will grab it, and Frank will work with them and work closely with you to see what exactly your needs are. You work with an agent who guarantees to sell your home, you're going to get the most money possible. Frank Leo, broker at Remax West, will sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll take it off your hands. He will buy it. A total service guarantee in writing. Call the only agent I would call if I needed to sell my home. Frank Leo and Associates at 416-917-5466. That's 416-917-LION, or go online to getleo.com. That's getleo.com. And start packing.
If you're accused of a criminal offense, including those that arise from a high conflict divorce, you need a highly experienced criminal defense lawyer. I'm Joseph Newberger, a certified specialist in criminal law. I've dedicated my career to protecting your rights. If you're charged, you don't need to go through this difficult time alone. Newberger and Partners are here to guide you every step of the way. Contact us for a consultation at 416-364-3111 or go to nrlawyers.com. That's nrlawyers.com.
Insightful, engaging, and intelligent. This is CFNJ Global News Radio 640 Toronto, a Chorus Entertainment Company. You're listening to Global News Radio 640 Toronto. This is Global News at 11 o'clock.
From the National Newsroom at the Canadian Press, I'm Jerry Smith. The Nova Scotia First Nation is grieving this Easter Sunday after a fishing boat capsized and sank off the west coast of Cape Breton. The search for a missing crew member has been suspended based on the results of the search over the last 25 hours. The news came in just hours after reports 2 of the other 4 crew members had died. First Nation says in a Facebook post that as its community comes to grips with this tragedy, it's reminded of the dangers brave fishers face each year to support their families and communities. Canada's Chief Public Health Officer urging everyone to keep their guards up amid a surge in more contagious variants of COVID-19 as the pandemic disrupted Easter and Passover for a second year. Canadians need to be careful since the more contagious variants of concern could be anywhere, says Dr. Teresa Tam. Quebec, which has been grappling with a third wave of COVID-19 cases driven by more contagious variants, announced it is adding more regions to a list of places under lockdown that already includes Quebec City and Gatineau. British Columbia's public safety minister says any business or individual putting patrons and staff at risk by ignoring COVID-19 rules will face the consequences. Mike Farnworth says harassment of enforcement officials will not be tolerated, and closure orders by Vancouver Coastal Health or any other health authority must be respected. Public Safety Ministry issued the statement after at least 2 Vancouver restaurants defied public health orders banning indoor dining following a surge in COVID-19 infections in BC. Pope Francis has used his traditional Easter message to denounce the wars that rage on around the globe, even amid a global pandemic.
The Pope delivered his Urbi et Orbi address inside St. Peter's Basilica so as not to attract crowds to St. Peter's Square.
pandemia è ancora in pieno corso.
Noting the coronavirus continues to spread, and with it, social and economic crisis, he called it scandalous that wars have not ended and military arsenals continue to be strengthened.
Lo scandalo di oggi.
He also appealed anew to the international community to overcome delays in distributing COVID-19 vaccines and to ensure supplies reach the poorest countries.
Con i paesi più poveri.
I'm Ben Thomas.
Maintenance crews are working to prevent the collapse of a large wastewater pond near Tampa Bay to avoid a catastrophic flood. Officials say a breach at the reservoir has the potential to gush out millions of liters of polluted water in a matter of minutes. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says officials have been pumping water out of the pond after a portion of the containment wall in the reservoir shifted. More than 300 homes in the immediate area have been evacuated, and some families have been placed in local hotels. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, Haley Jones scored 17 points. Stanford beat Arizona 54-53, giving the Cardinal and coach Tara Vanderveer their first national championship in 29 years. It wasn't a masterpiece by any stretch, with both teams struggling to score and missing easy layups and shots, but Stanford did just enough to pull off the win. North Division play in the NHL, the Maple Leafs looking for their third straight victory. They're in Calgary taking on the Flames. The Leafs are 4-0-1 in their last 5. And the Flames have lost 7 of their last 10 games. 16 of the 22 players on Vancouver's active roster now on the NHL's protocol list. A member of the coaching staff has also been affected. Canucks are off the ice until at least Tuesday, with 4 games postponed due to COVID-19. Blue Jays beat the New York Yankees 3-1 to win their season opening series. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Randall Grichuk went deep for Toronto in the second inning. A slimmed down Guerrero had a hit in all 3 games in the series. From the Canadian Press, I'm Jerry Smith.
To the Sunday Night Health Show in a year characterized by, is that on the air there? Let's start that again. Happy Easter and Passover to all those tuning in who are celebrating. In a year characterized by masks, anti-maskers, physical distancing, hand sanitizers, people who are defying public health orders, lockdowns, lovers' quarrels, the vaccination rollout has begun. Welcome to the Sunday Night Health Show, a show about sexual health, how it relates to overall health, making your relationships the best they can be. Good evening. I am Maureen McGrath, registered nurse, nurse confidence advisor, sexual health educator, and host of this program. Behind the boards, we have Leo. He's joining us tonight. Good evening, Leo.
Good evening, Maureen.
How are you?
I'm pretty good.
You'll learn. It's not easy to work with me, Leo. Your heart will race. You'll panic. I'll be super chill. And the show will go on. All right. Well, thanks for joining the program and daring to help me out. If you'd like to be a part of this program, please give me a call. The number to call is 1-877-399-9898. That's 1-877-399-9898. You can text me there as well, or email me in confidence at nursetalk@hotmail.com. Although we cover a variety of health subjects, this show is not a replacement for a visit to your doctor, virtually or by phone. Tonight on the program, we're going to talk about how to rise above the chaos that we've been living in for over a year now, and we are living in chaos. Also going to be talking about some of the most important numbers that you should know about your health. Also going to be talking about the COVID protocols and why they don't make sense for some people and why it's very difficult for a lot of people to actually follow through on some of those. Tonight on the program, a little bit later on, we're going to be talking about caregivers. Did you know that Canada has 8.1 million unpaid caregivers here? And so we're going to be talking about one man's story about how he went from investment banking to caregiving for his wife who was dying with cancer. All right, we talk about all sorts of health subjects, and we do a dose of sex too every now and again, because there's always a dose of sex talk or two. Makes it a little bit fun. So put those kidless to bed, grab a cup of tea or wine, or your lover, or just a chick if you like. I meant like a chick that you got for an Easter egg hunt. Anyway, because we've got lots to talk about on the program, but right now, Oh, joining me on the line, bada bing, is, you've heard his voice before. He is the assistant professor in the Department of Medical Microbiology and Infectious Diseases, University of Manitoba, Canada, and holds a Tier 2 Canada Research Chair in the molecular pathogenesis of emerging and re-emerging viruses. He is currently seconded to collaboratively advance research and development against COVID-19 at VIDO. He is Dr. Jason Kindrachuk, and he joins me on the line. Good evening, Dr. Kindrachuk.
Good evening, Maureen.
How are you? Happy Easter to you.
Yeah, listen, we're going through potty training right now, so it's been
lovely.
It's been a trouble.
Here's the deal. Here's my advice. Now I know you're here to give advice. Listen, it will happen. Your child will not go to school not potty trained. One day, magically, they will say, I gotta go. I did it. That's it. All of you adults, stop bugging me. But I know parents get stressed about that. There's a lot of...
It's just entertaining.
Yeah, that's nice. I remember one of mine sat on the potty chair, fully clothed, sat down, and on the deck, I think I had the potty chair on the back deck, and he sat down and said, this isn't working. Okay, there you go. Anyway, we're not here to talk about potty training, although it's a very important subject and one that can cause concern and stress for lots of parents out there. But something else that's causing concern and stress, especially when you've been locked down with your toddlers, is Canada's COVID situation. We have hit 1 million today as the variant, or this week as the variants spread. What is the outlook here, Dr. Kindrachuk? I mean, I'm even losing hope and a little bit of faith. I know the vaccine rollouts have gone, have started across Canada. They're doing them just a little bit differently. I feel like we should be doing them 24/7. A lot of healthcare workers are used to working night shifts. We have disagreements. Some people are defying public health laws. Others are, throwing police and, police officers and the law out of churches in Calgary. And, we're kind of, not as united as we perhaps could be, and perhaps a little bit divided. And what impact is this going to have on the future, our future?
Yeah, I certainly think that that's the case, right? And really, across the board with everything you've said, I think, maybe there's that feeling that we had such a sense of optimism even, 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, when vaccines started to roll out. We started seeing real world data about the effectiveness of the vaccines. And I think there's a real sense of, okay, we're getting there. We're almost back to normal. And of course, the virus threw, another variable at us in the form of the variants of concern. I think it's difficult at this point in time to suddenly, dig your, kind of feet in the sand and say, okay, we need to turn around. We need to go back to some of the things that we were doing previously with prior waves to get through this. I think there's that sense of, we're past this. We should be well beyond this. And I think you're seeing it across the board. Certainly researchers, the same thing. I've seen a lot of colleagues that are just tired, just kind of burnt out by all of this. But the unfortunate reality is, we're seeing all the things I think we've been, kind of alarmed about since mid-December, with B117, as it rolled through the UK. That sense of, hospitalizations are going to start to increase, and then we're going to start to see, some severe illness and concerns about transmission. And we're getting a real sense of that, I think, over the past 7 days.
Now, is it that people are thinking, well, there aren't as many variants as there was coronavirus? Is that part of it? Is that why people, and also people are getting vaccinated and they think, well, I've gotten the 1 dose of Pfizer. It's, 80% effective after 2 weeks. That's pretty good, better than the flu vaccine. Why do I have to continue to wear this mask and remain physically distant from my loved ones?
Well, there's a few things, right? I think part of it is still, it's really the narrative that started in January 2020, which was, this was a disease that predominantly affected people that were seniors, that were elderly, and that were high risk in regards to underlying complications and health issues. Well, we're seeing the reality of COVID-19 right now, and that, it's it produces severe disease in actually a lot of different age groups. And yes, even if you protect those that are most vulnerable, maybe we're able to decrease fatalities, but there is still that risk of severe disease. And I think for us, the concern always has been that once you start increasing hospitalizations, you start putting that stress on healthcare systems. It's not just COVID-19 patients that suffer. It's everybody that needs to get access to healthcare, and of course, disproportionately in different socioeconomic statuses. So I think all this is playing out, and that's a new world for us. We're not used to seeing people that are 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s going into the hospital and suddenly being on mechanical ventilation. That's not what COVID-19 has really been presented at us, and now we're kind of seeing that stark reality of what it can be.
Yes, we certainly are. And if you have a question for the fine doctor, the number to call is 1-877-399-9898. It's 1-877-399-9898. It's a free call across Canada. Now, we have commenced the vaccine rollout. Mostly, from what I've seen, it's been Moderna and Pfizer. And all of a sudden, some AstraZeneca vaccines have been available. And I have to say, to the 55 to 65-year-old group in British Columbia, anyway, and so many people have said, I don't want the AstraZeneca vaccine. I don't want the blood clot, and I want the one that's most effective. Or if you say you're going to be getting the Pfizer, people are like, yay, I'm getting the Pfizer. So what, should people want the AstraZeneca? Is it any vaccine, anytime, whatever you're offered? Should people be waiting? And why are people afraid of the AstraZeneca?
Well, in terms of the fear, I think part of it has been based on the fact that, we are hearing in real time, first of all, how the system works. So we understand that, we actually are doing monitoring of severe adverse reactions and looking for any sort of potential complications, whether they are correlated or not to the vaccines. So we're seeing all that presented in real time. And obviously, AstraZeneca, there has been some concerns have been raised. Now we have to start to equate this in regards to context. How, in terms of the significance, how significant are these across different age groups and for different people? And then you go back to the effectiveness. Well, the effectiveness, when you look at real-world data, AstraZeneca looks phenomenal in the UK. We certainly have seen just a complete turnaround in their transmission in communities. So it becomes, a bit of a question of, what do? You have a vaccine that works amazingly well, but you now have a concern. So how do you message that concern back to the public in a way that still provides them with at least some feeling that they're informed, but also that they're comfortable with the vaccine? And I think the unfortunate fact is that for AstraZeneca, they fumbled the ball on communication from day one with this. And I think that's going to be kind of a lasting legacy of a really good vaccine that had some potential issues linked with it, that even if it comes out with, smelling like roses, there's going to be, I think, a lot of concern and unhappy sentiment towards that vaccine. And so we're really going to limit our ability to get control of this, I think, as quickly as possible.
All right, absolutely. That's great information. If you wouldn't mind staying on the line, I want to talk to you about a little hope, like hope once we start rolling out these vaccines and what our lives potentially will look like toward the summer. I'm Maureen McGrath. You're listening to the Sunday Night Health Show on the Chorus Radio Network.
It was a rainy day when Pizzaville realised we all have things we should cut back on. For me half-brother Raoul, that's ordering inflatable toys. For others, it's carbs. So Pizzaville made the extra thin crust pizza. You get the same authentic Italian taste as our regular pizza, but with 2/3 less carbs. Because the last thing Raoul wants is an inflatable waist.
Pizzaville stone-baked pizza. Fiercely Canadian. Authentically Italian.
Maybe we can be civil about this. Just work things out. Then again, maybe we can't. Our family, our home, our income, our stuff, our past and our future. I wish I had someone to walk me through this. I don't think I could do it alone. I don't want to do it alone.
At Russell Alexander Family Lawyers, we sweat the small stuff so you don't have to, and do the legwork that makes or breaks negotiations. Go to bookria.ca to learn more. That's bookria.ca.
Stephen, I'm thinking of adding physical gold to my portfolio.
Well, I wouldn't do it. It's volatile, and it doesn't pay a dividend.
Really? because I researched gold, and it actually has averaged over 8% a year since 2002. That's a more than I'm getting with you.
But you're going to have to pay to store it, and how are you going to sell it?
Actually, it's easy to store, and it costs less than your yearly management fee. And I found out that through Guildhall, that buying and selling happens on a phone call.
Have you ever thought about owning physical gold or silver and been told it's a bad idea? Thank goodness for Guildhall.
Well, we'll come back to you in 7 30-second commercials. I'm growing steel wool and fiber optic cable. Health Canada recalls mass, blah, 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 blah. I'm just confused. What purpose was the graphene supposed to serve? Because there's one of these engineered substances, synthetic, I forget what the term is. All right, I'll put it back on vaccine guide. I will. In a couple of minutes, I will. All right, well, the 20 minutes in. Come on. Wow. So I think we're going to chew through this 7